Hey guys, so according to what some of you have told me, I'm trying to teach a few things, especially about analyzing fiction. So this is like a real beginner course on understanding fiction texts and sort of analyzing pieces of fiction. And it's from this step that you will then proceed to a more critical engagement with the written word. Anyway, so I'm going to start off by talking about reading and understanding fiction text for beginners. So welcome and thank you for joining me. If you're new here, please subscribe and just get ready to get notifications whenever a new video pops up. Anyway, so today's objectives is of course to help you understand how to read and understand fiction texts, to select relevant evidence to support an argument, and to use subject terminology accurately to identify language and structural features. Um, so for a start, we're going to read this extract and see how many language and structural features you can identify in 5 minutes. Of course, language and structural features are those figures of speech, like metaphor, simile, and stuff like that are used in literature. So, and I do hope that you have a bit of a foundation on that. Of course, I'll do another video to go through them with you. So in this extract from Treasure Island by R.L. Stevenson, Jim Hawkins, a young boy, describes the first time he met Captain Billy Bones, who's an old pirate who once stayed at his parents' inn in Bristol. So it's a beautiful read. I've missed out a sort of important part of this extract, but we're going to go ahead regardless. So I remember him as if it were yesterday, as he came plodding to the inn door, his sea chest following behind him in a hand barrow. A tall, strong, heavy, nut-brown man, his tarry pigtail falling over the shoulder of his soiled blue coat, his hands ragged and scarred, with black broken nails, and a saber cut across one cheek, a dirty, livid white. I'd like you to pay attention to the descriptions of this character. What do we now know about him, from reading this? And the character in question is Captain Billy Bones, the pirate. So I remember him looking round the cover and whistling to himself as he did so, and then breaking out in that old sea song that he sang so often afterwards. 15 men on a dead man's chest, yo ho ho, and a bottle of rum, in the high old tottering voice that seemed to have been tuned and broken at the capstan bars. This when it was brought to him, he drank slowly like a connoisseur. This is a point where I missed out something, how Captain Billy Bones ordered his drink authoritatively, in a brash manner, in such a way that the narrator noticed that this was not the sort of customer that they were used to at his parents' inn. Anyway, so with the bits that we've read in the story, I'd like you to do something for me. Reread the extract and find quotations that can be used as evidence to prove the points listed in the table below. So this is just a trick. You find points from the story, from the piece of writing, and then you try to find evidence within the text to prove that these points are in fact true. And you also try to find points to prove that your evidence is in fact correct. So that's just a little trick to this basic analysis and understanding of literary texts. Anyway, so what did you get? Captain Billy Bones has been in many sword fights. How do we know this from the text? From reading about him, from seeing what he's done, and just meeting with this character, because that's powerful characterization right there. It's just an intimate description of that character for the reader. So we can say that the evidence is that the saber cuts across one cheek. So he's got this gash from sort of a sword fight. That's all we know. This one's been in a lot of sword fights. Some of them did not almost end well. So Captain Billy Bones does not have a nice singing voice. How do we know this? From the text. In the high, old, tottering voice that seemed to have been tuned and broken at the capstan bars. That's how the narrator describes his singing of that old pirate song, Ho Ho Ho, the Dead Man's Rum or whatever. So Captain Billy Bones is a pirate. This is the most obvious thing, because it's not one of those things where you tell a writer to show you and not tell you. This writer tells us and also shows us that Captain Billy Bones is indeed a pirate. So of course, and one of the ways to prove that is his sea chest following him behind. Captain Billy Bones does not look after his appearance. Yeah, so I think we get that a bit, because we see this really lengthy description of how unkempt he looked, his black broken nails, his hands ragged and scarred, his blue coat is soiled. So yeah, some of those details actually evidence the fact that Captain Billy Bones does not look after his appearance. So what one wonders what pirates actually did with all the coins and gold and treasures that they were looting. Anyway, so Captain Billy Bones is a demanding customer. That's the part that I missed, because he asks for his drink in a really, really rude manner. That the narrator described, but somehow I missed in my extract. He rapped on the door, and when his drink finally, when the father of the narrator finally appeared, he called him roughly and asked for that drink that was then brought to him. So that's how we know this. And for the next activity that I'd like you to do, I'd like you to explain how your evidence proves that the points are true, because it's one thing to talk about the points and find evidence to support them. It's also another thing to try to prove that the evidence in fact points to the fact that the points are true. So have a look at this example and then give it a go yourself using the evidence you selected in the table above. And of course you can always pause and whip out pen and paper and just follow along as we do these, because that's like the surest way to make sure that you don't forget. Anyway, so the first point is Captain Billy Bones has spent a lot of time in the sun. And the evidence is the fact that he was described as a not brown man. And explaining it and identifying the technique is the adjective not brown suggests that he spent so much time in the sunshine that his skin is now very tanned. That's a way of looking at that. So I'd like you to spend some time, go back to the text and find points and try to bring evidence from within the text to prove those points. So moving forward to the last thing that I'd like you to do, of course, with that pen and paper that you still have, write down 2 top tips for finding the best evidence for supporting an argument. What have you learned from what I just said? And then write down 2 top tips for giving convincing explanations. So basically, what you're going to do is to tell me from what I've told you, what's the best 2 top tips, the best tips for finding the best evidence. Of course, the best way to find evidence is to pinpoint what your point is. First of all, it's the point that the little girl is beautiful, and then you go to the text to find an elaborate description of her hair, how it bounced on her head in these golden ringlets and whatnot, and then that's it. To also give convincing explanations, you have to be sure that the evidence in fact has anything at all to do with the point. So it's basically just reading and talking about portions of what you've read and how those things sort of come together to build a story. So usually these techniques come in handy when you have to write an exam, for instance, like A levels, GCSE, whatever, YEC. So I mean, it's basically simple. What is this point has been made in the story, and how do I prove from within the story that this was in fact the point that was made? So, but just like I said, this is just basic stuff as we go ahead with these short videos that I'm going to be sharing with you. You're going to get into the advanced stuff and just just get a hang of how this whole thing is done. But in the meantime, if you've got any questions, please don't hesitate to type them in the comments, and I will be so honored to help out. And thanks guys, the ones who tell me all the time that I saved their exams, and those are the comments that I'm looking for, and that's the whole point of me doing this. So keep reading and keep analyzing texts, and keep thinking critically through texts as you continue to build of the things that you're learning, until you get to the point where you become an expert in engaging with texts critically, which is something that helps you no matter what discipline you're in, and no matter what you choose to do in your life, because that's just something fundamental that really helps and cuts across every sphere of life, especially if you like to become a leader and do something extraordinary in this world. Anyway, so any questions, let me know. Please subscribe, like, comment, and come back again, and I'll see you in the next video.